one thing we always talk to our audience about are couples and their communication, intimacy, and finance. So we're going to talk about communication with you two and tell us the struggles, because being married 45 years, you guys have been through a lot, I'm sure, in learning how to communicate with each other. So give us a little bit of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to part 2 with Bob and Janet Hudson. We are having a blast.
Yes, we're in Get It Together with Stephen and Corey. I'm Corey, and that's Stephen. And we are delving back in, as Stephen said, to part 2. If you haven't heard part 1 yet or watched part 1, go back and watch Bob and Janet Hudson. And we're going to get right into it. No delays. So Bob and Janet, we talked about your history of how you met and your first careers and how you move forward with your family. But one thing we always talk to our audience about are couples and their communication, intimacy, and finance. So we're going to talk about communication with you two and tell us the struggles, because being married 45 years,
44.
40, but almost 45. Next week will be 45. So 45 years.
Yeah, that's good.
You guys have been through a lot, I'm sure, in learning how to communicate with each other. So give us a little bit of you.
Well, I think the biggest thing is we do communicate generally. And if things get too intense, we'll just take like a time out, and one of us will take a walk, or we'll leave the room or whatever, and then get back together and talk about whatever just happened.
Did you have to learn that? Because you guys met as kids. You guys were high schoolers. So
yeah, I think part of that is that we always really like each other. So we want to be respectful as much as we can. It doesn't mean that we don't say things we don't mean at times, because we do. But we also get back together and apologize for whatever stupid thing we just said. I'm speaking more for me than Bob, because I fly off the handle a little more than he does. So that's really important. We've always said that we're not going to go to bed mad, which sounds like a cliche, but it's really true. If you let things ruminate and have room to grow and get more important than they really are, just try to settle things before you go to bed.
It's hard too. Sometimes you find yourself up really late because you're not going to go to bed mad.
Well, if not, it stews for 8 hours, and that's all you think about.
Yeah.
So that's why it's always, to us, it was always important, just kind of, I'm sorry, whatever I did, we'll talk again about it or whatever. So, there was always that, release of tension.
Sure. So your communication skills, the two of you, do you have the same way you communicate, or did you have to learn that for each other?
We are both very much communicate physically. Like we are always holding hands and touching each other. That's important to our communication. Some people that they think, they've been very long. Why are they holding hands? This is part of who we are. So in the military, that was difficult, especially being on a base for 8 months, because we couldn't show that affection, unless we weren't in uniform.
But they knew we were a couple. It wasn't like we were hiding it.
No.
Yeah.
They knew if we were in uniform, we were not holding hands.
He had to salute me, so he couldn't hold my hand.
Yeah. So Bob, you had mentioned something about how you are a talker, but you had to learn to communicate. How did you do that? Because there's a lot of people out there that think they can communicate and they're just talking. Yeah.
Well, it took a long time for me, and it's still a process for me, because there's times where I communicate or talk and don't realize, am I really communicating anything to what I'm talking about? So, in wide perspective, we have meetings that we go to, and when I get up and talk, someone goes, that was a good, talk or communication. I went, I don't remember what I said. So, but that's just the way I've always been, is, sometimes it flows out of my mouth in a gracious way. And I just don't realize, yes, I truly was communicating, but I don't know what it was. You know.
Yeah, you do.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I think part of that we both have learned as we've gotten older with wisdom is to be a better listener to what's going on. And, you know, there have been times when Bob obviously knows I'm upset, even though I'm saying I'm not. And you know, so he waits for the right opportunity to get that communication out. So I think, you know, listening and gauging people's moods or whatever is, you know, just part of something you learn generally as you get older, not necessarily when you're a teenager.
Yeah, that's true.
Good.
That's true.
That's really good.
This is the beauty of living together and being married for a long time, because you grow together. You know, that communication grows together too, where I'm sure that they don't even have to finish each other's sentences, right? You know, they look at each other and they go, yeah, I know the rest of it. It's like, yeah.
So you guys had about maybe 1 or 2 decades now where you're out of the military, you're just moving them through life, doing life, raising the kids and all those kind of things. And then you must have come to another season in your life where you had to begin to make some sort of transition, ultimately to get where you guys are today. So can you walk us through that, as you dive into that a little bit deeper in terms of when you begin to think about making this transition? How were you able to do it?
Wait, you mean their transition into business?
Into business and into this new life, sort of post profession life, but now into business ownership.
Yeah, because you're not really retired, are you?
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let me go first, because you know, I was with the post office 17 years after 13 years with the military. For me, it was an easy transition because I've already taken care of my kids at home. I've already, you know, done all that extra stuff. I went to school for almost 4 years without going to work, and you know, so my transition was very easily, especially after they started putting all the extra stress on us at the post office. Okay. And it was like, okay, it's time for me to stop because I can't handle this stress anymore. Sure. And I think I will adapt fine to being at home, doing whatever you need to do, you know, taking care of Janet and everything else. So for me, it was like, yes, I'm done.
So there's a backstory there. Bob always said, oh, I will let you retire first. I'll work longer than you do. You know, blah, 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 blah. So he came home that day and says, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And of course, my first comment to him was, I thought I was retiring before you, honey. What happened to that? And then my next thought was, his brother just died. His brother died at work, should have retired much earlier. And I knew that was part of what he was thinking. So I'm like, yeah, babe.
Was it really though, Bob? Is she right on that?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he worked. We had plans coming up. Sorry.
He was getting ready to retire.
He was getting ready to retire, so we were planning stuff together and everything else, and then he dies on job.
Oh, wow.
So lo and behold, I didn't want to die on the job and not be able to take care of whatever I wanted to do with my family. And, you know, of course, family is top dog.
Key. I mean, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, it's God, family.
Well, I guess I'm family.
Well, she's
your family. Yes. So, but for you, Bob, did you feel like, you know what, I'm not afraid to go be at home because I've been at home before? Because there's a lot of times that husbands or men, when they retire, they're like, I'm just going to be home. And what am I going to do? I'm sure you already saw what you could do. You know, even if it was nothing that was like, even if it was just fun, you knew how to be at home and be content with yourself without pressure of, I got to be out there.
Well, but this is a heavy situation that Janet was able to identify that's deeper than that she was able to identify. Yeah. That's a very energetic chord. I feel that.
Right.
Well, if you know somebody well enough, you know, even if they're not saying it, which is what he was talking about communicating, even though he's not verbalizing that, I know that's what he's thinking because you know, I just know him.
Yeah. So how were you able to process that then, Janet? Because it was clear that you were not going to be retiring first then.
It was really okay.
Yeah.
The other thing that was really a blessing is my mom had developed Alzheimer's and she lived with us for 5 years. So part of that time, Bob was, you know, really doing things for her and looking after her while I was working. So yeah, it was really a blessing, you know, to have that time before she got really bad.
Look how God moved everything to make that happen too.
Yeah.
Who would have known that she would have Alzheimer's, you know? So the beauty in having that time together is a really nice, and the fact that I got to tell you guys, Bob is fun. I mean, he's just fun. So if I was going to be an elderly woman at home, I'd say, yeah, Bob would play cards with her, anything she wanted to do, he was there. And and here we're talking about his mother-in-law. It's not like he was just caring for someone else. This is his mother-in-law, which is so beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing that stands out, you know, a lot of times in life, people talk about what do you want or what are your desires, et cetera, et cetera. And as I reflect on the situation with Bob and thinking about his brother, even if you couldn't communicate, Bob, what you wanted, what you saw with your brother is something you know you didn't want.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times we can identify what we don't want, and then conversely, it reflects what we do want.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when you were walking through that with your brother, what really stood out for you as it relates to, you certainly decided, I don't want that. But what did you see on the backside?
Well, it was spending time with family in a true and genuine way. I mean, you know, so what we try to do with our children now is take them on experiences with us.
We bribe them to be with us.
We bribe them to be with us. So it took a lot, you know, because you used to do the big Christmas stuff and everything else. And we finally went to the point where it's like, how about if we just spend time together doing what we want to do as a family?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so that's really developed, is getting more and more developed as we go along, because the kids are going, where are we going this year? You know, so
yeah,
they're, you know, I think we raise them properly because they want to be with us.
Right.
Because, you know, eventually they will take care of me.
Yeah. That leads me into the intimacy, because here's something, you know, as you were saying that, you guys have an intimate relationship with your children, that they want to be with you. You know, a lot of parents, once they're finished parenting, they're grown up now, they can do what they want. Or you guys have developed a relationship that is so beautiful. And when I say intimate, I mean that they can come to you and they can want you in their lives. And they say, Mom and Dad, come and visit. You know, you guys go see Tyler, and you guys talk about Tyler and his life because you know it. He's not hiding things from you. You know, Jessica is your girl. I mean, you know, and even though they're their own people, you guys have formed an intimate relationship with your adult children. Yep. They're not just your children, they're your adult children, and they like you and they want to be around you. That takes work. Congratulations.
Well, they like us unless we're giving them an opinion that they don't like. But
because they're adults. But
they're adults. Right, exactly.
They ask for our opinion, we give it, and they're like, we don't want to do that. I'm like, why are you asking?
Yeah.
Just do what you want to do.
Something else that stands out, and I might be reading this totally wrong, and I didn't really expect this, but I'm going to just share it because I feel it's very strong. And that is, this Janet is somewhat of a dynamo. I sense there's this, it's like, you know, a duck, you see a duck gliding across the pond, but underneath that thing is just pedaling like this. And I sense with Janet that kind of intensity. It's not arrogant. It's not any, it's just a flow. Am I speaking the right way, Bob? Is that who she truly is?
Absolutely, because she gives her heart a lot more than people realize, and she works hard to take care of people.
Yeah.
And take care of her friends and neighbors. I mean, taking brownies down to a neighbor. I mean,
it seems like that brings her joy, though, as well. Does that bring you joy, Janet?
Yeah. You know, connecting to people is really what life's all about. So if you're not building relationships and supporting each other in the good times and the bad times, then you don't really have a relationship with somebody.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. We're moving on to finance now. And I want to go back to Bob being able to be that stay-at-home dad and letting Janet soar. And so that had to take a hit in the finances, because now Bob is being that caregiver for their daughter and homemaker, and Janet is pursuing this career. How did that affect your relationship? How did that affect your finances? And what did that, three things. How did that affect your relationship? How did that affect your finances? And what does that look like now because you were able to do that?
Well, first of all, I never, you know, with my family, it was never important who made the most money in my family. I could have went out and got 2 jobs and made just as much money as she was making. She was making enough to suffice us through those times, when she was even in school, because it was through the Air Force. So, but finances, if you let finances dictate who you are, you're in a lot of trouble.
Amen.
It's great to have money. It's great to be able to share money all together,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not the ultimate thing. Money is, yes, takes care of a lot of things, but if you dictate, I got to make more money than my wife, you lose communication, intimacy, and family. You lose it all because you're focused on the core group of your family. So
true. Bravo. That's so true. Yes. And so many people are not, I don't want to say humble. I want to say love. It really is a love, because you love your family more than you love what you can, the money or the status or whatever that thing, the ego, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. So that's how it was. Now, how did that shift what you're doing now? Because the two of you are in business now together, and your finances are a choice. Janet was sharing that your finances, what you're doing now, you have your money, you're fine, but you're building something that has finances attached to it, but you're building it for again, a love and a desire.
Yes. I guess I should pick on Jessica a little bit with this, because when I retired, she's like, Mom, what? And we started this business. She's like, Mom, why are you so occupied and so busy all the time? You should be relaxing and doing what you want to do. And I try to explain to her that there's a big difference between having to be somewhere for 10 hours a day in the operating room and then making your own schedule of how you're going to make your day go or your week go. It's totally different. So I said, I don't feel like I have that kind of pressure on me. I can make my own schedule. I said, but you have to have a purpose in life. Just because I stopped doing anesthesia, I have to have a purpose. I can't just play pickleball and hang out with my girlfriends and go to church and, whatever.
Right.
So to me, it was just a natural, and I didn't even realize it at the time, because when I used a product that really helped my health. And when that got better so quickly, I thought, how can I not tell people about this? And then I'm thinking, well, how can we use this financial win with this to help somebody? And for us, it was, this product actually helps with post-traumatic stress, anxiety, depression, along with physical things. There is such a large amount of veterans every day that commit suicide.
Wow.
So if we can make just a small dent in what they're doing by having enough finances to give patches to people who are struggling, that can't supply for themselves, then that's the big goal. That's why we get up every day.
That's our wide goal.
That's our big
fantastic.
You're doing this. You just happen to be making money, but what your goal is to be able to help those. Now, explain what your experience with the patches, and tell the viewers what the company is, and tell us how. We'll have everything listed below, but also tell us how they can get in touch with you. So tell them what the company is, how they can get in touch with you, and how it helped you.
Yeah.
Sure. The company is called LifeWave, and they have phototherapy patches that actually elevate a copper peptide in your body and then turn your own stem cells back on.
It's LIFEWAVE, lifewave.com/Janet Hudson, correct?
Yes.
If they want to get in touch with you.
Yes. Well, no, that's my website. If they want to get in touch with me, it's janethudsonforhealth.com at gmail.com.
At Gmail. Okay.
So I found this technology because when I came home from Desert Storm, I developed all kinds of illnesses that didn't really seem to make sense over about a 2-year period. Autoimmune issues, stomach issues. I had nerve, joint, and muscle pain all the time.
Wow.
All kinds of sleep issues. So I always looked for holistic ways to heal, because they wanted to put me on narcotics. I'm like, hello, I do anesthesia. I cannot be on a narcotic and take care of people. So that was their solution. And then some other really crazy drugs that mess with your brain. So I'm like, I always looked for natural ways. And when I came across this technology called LifeWave, I was really skeptical. How can something I wear on my body activate stem cells to work again and help my body to feel and look better. I'm like, but it did. And when I really researched the company and the studies and the patents and everything, it made perfect sense. Therefore, I decided, how can I not share this with other people to see if I can help them in their journey to get off of pain medicine and all kinds of things. So,
wow.
So the two of you became business partners with LifeWave, and now you're doing great with that company. But the end goal is not so much to do great with the company; it's to be able to help people, with these patches. And the beauty of it is that as you grow your business, your patches pay for themselves. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah,
because
absolutely.
Finances, yeah.
And they've helped us with other financial things, but the higher we get in the company, the more money that we're making that we can designate to go to somebody else.
Nice.
Wow,
We don't need that money. We've worked hard our whole lives. We have enough financial stability that we don't need that money to survive. But there's so many people that, we can funnel that into our church and into veterans who need help, or anybody else that we meet along the way that we feel like needs the help that can't afford it.
So are you saying that people who may have gone through Desert Storm or any other form of high stress situations, whether it be physical, mental, or psychological stress, do you think LifeWave could help? I mean, I know you can't say,
we can't say we treat or diagnose or prevent disease. However, we have thousands of testimonials in 80 countries worldwide of people being helped with those exact things. So you can't really argue with
testimonials,
that kind of information. So,
sure. And so financially, you're able to, again, we talk about communication, intimacy, and finance, but the beautiful thing is you just said financially you're able to give out. So it's not necessarily, this is what I've got, this is what I've got. You're able to push it back out into your community or wherever you desire to push it.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And we would really like to do more mission trips, but mission trips are very expensive because you're paying for everything yourself. So be able to do that without having to worry about, does that fit into our budget?
Right. Now, Bob, you are both of you are in this business together. How do you? What is your role in this business? As you two work together, do you guys have separate roles or?
You didn't hear him.
He didn't hear me, but I said I'm the eye candy.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, it's funny. It's funny.
We conquer. We divide and conquer. A lot of times we're not at the same meetings because redundancy doesn't get you very far.
Sure.
But if you can split and create redundancy in different, areas of, people, then it's like that works. We communicate that all the time, that it's okay to split up and go different ways.
You're both building your business. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same goal. We have the same mission, same goal. Right. We want to help veterans. We want to help anybody, actually. The doctor says, well, I'm sorry, you're either going to have to be on drugs or I can't do anything for you. In our world, we can do stuff for you.
That's great.
Yeah.
Whether it's moral support, whether it's, saying a prayer with you, or just stuff in general, we feel that, we can help you no matter what.
What do you guys think after 44 years of marriage and success, knowing each other almost 50 years, literally through war, through marriage, through raising your kids, through transitioning into business ownership, all of that stuff, you found a way to get it together.
Yeah.
What's the secret for
sauce.
Janet and Bob?
What's the secret sauce?
In terms of getting it together?
Well, for me, when I graduated from nurse anesthetist school, they had us play a song that represented our family at our graduation. And my song that I picked was "You're My Wind Beneath My Wings." And, comes from the Bible. And earlier, Corey, you said soar, and that's immediately what came to my mind, because he always supported whatever I wanted to do in my career. There's lots of things that you make decisions together, like how many children you're going to have and, all that, those kind of things. But he always supported me with the utmost love for whatever I wanted to do. And when it came time for my mom to need more support to move in with us, he's the one that suggested that. I'm thinking, I don't want my mother living with me. Oh my goodness, that's going to be so hard. And he's like, she's the only parent we have left. We need to do this. You know, how can you not love that?
See, my moral support to her is I do laundry, dishes.
You cook too.
I cook dinner. I'm the grill master. So I support her, whether she's at work, whether she's at play, whether she's. We've always done it as a team. We are not, neither one of us is sitting on the bench going, "Hey, give me a beer," or whatever.
Yeah.
So we are supportive and loving in that way, and we try our best.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. Bob and Janet, thank you so much for joining us, because what you're talking about are the comforts of having a marriage that's lasted long.
Yes.
And not just the comforts, but the servanthood and the love. That's what I hear a lot of, the servanthood and the love. Mm-hmm. I hope you guys have gleaned that from them today, because we have been able to spend 2 episodes with them. I'm looking at the time, 2 episodes with them. If you have any questions or any comments, put them below, especially all the positive comments.
That's right.
And for those of you who have interest in the LifeWave patches, please comment or go to Janet's website. Or go to Janet's email or her website. Go anywhere that's listed below so you can get in touch with them. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Remember to click like, subscribe.
Click like, subscribe here for us too. Right? Yes. But thank you guys for joining us. And Bob and Janet, thank you so much for spending time with us.
So much for serving this great country, and for the time in Desert Storm and the military.
I know.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. It was our honor to do that, and our honor to be on your show. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, we'll see you in the next episode.